Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Can you do the pledge of allegiance? Can't get up. I
Pledge
pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States
of
of
America
America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you all for coming this evening and welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
So, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Michaeline. Do I have a second?
Second, Gene.
Second by Gene. Thank you, Gene. We'll do a roll call vote. Josh? We'll give him a minute there. Mark?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks, Josh. Mark?
Aye.
Okay. Mimi?
Aye.
Gene?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
Michaeline?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
and then Jean.
Public comment. Corinne, do we have any?
We had public comment from Ruth Dixon, who said that after attending a virtual conference with Michael Osterholm, realized how tough a decision it is to go to distance learning, but she wanted to commend the board on making that tough decision and telling us that she felt it was the right one. And then she said hurricanes forever. We also got a letter from the Torgersons, Rod and Jolynn, stating a desire to have students come back to school. So those that one didn't come through the regular email channel, but they did send it.
Okay.
I received nothing on truth and taxation, and there is no one here.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve? Did anybody have any questions on the comments at all? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent items?
So move.
Gene, motion made by Gene,
I second it.
second by Pete. Okay, roll call vote again. Josh?
I have one question. Can we have a question on the consent item, or would I?
Yep,
Sure.
go ahead.
Corinne, could you explain what a day break required by TRA for a resignation is, please, for the sake of some?
Yes. We have a new teacher at MNVA this year who is reaching the age of retirement. And so what she would like to do is to retire mid-year, start collecting on her TRA, but then would like to get rehired to work again. She's a very good teacher, and this was one of those stipulations on hiring, but the rule with TRA, you can't retire and start collecting TRA and continue working. So you need a one-day break. So she will retire for one day, come back and start working. And so then that satisfies the TRA requirements.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Michaeline. Any other questions? Concerns? Okay, we'll do roll call again. Josh? Josh?
Okay.
That's a thumbs up. Gene?
Yes.
Okay, Michaeline?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
Mimi?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, guys. Discussion items. Going to our favorite discussion item is just COVID-19 update.
No,
Grant?
not favorite at all.
No, it isn't. I'll be glad when that's off the agenda.
I will be very happy when this is off the agenda, because right now things in the county are really getting kind of scary. Audrey Stagemeyer said that this week we've gotten some of the highest numbers in the county so far, and you have to put them in the date where they actually tested. So then she was backfilling the spreadsheet, but they had 36 positive cases on Tuesday, and then another 31 yesterday. So the numbers are really blowing up. The county numbers as of today that Department of Health released Houston County at 133.42 today. This is our third week in a row over 100. For December 10th, next Thursday, we are slated to have 112.452, and that number will continue to increase as they backfill again. On December 17th, we are already at 75.55, and we have 4 days of data that is not filled in yet because we haven't gotten to those days yet. So we are predicting that on December 17th, we will still be over 100. As a reminder, hybrid in the elementary school can't be considered until we are under 50. For our zip code, that's another measure where we're looking at just our community. And so the 55943 zip code, we've just had our 4th week of double-digit increases. Last week, we had 10 new cases. This week, we've already had 18. So that's on the rise again. High School League did come out today and say that barring a new executive order or continuance of Executive Order 2099, because activities can begin on the 18th, they're slating to have winter sport practices begin on the 21st of December, with games then being able to start January 4th. Southeast Conference ADs are still meeting once a week. And the Southeast Conference is talking about possibly moving that a little bit, just because considering the high numbers in our area, to make sure that they're adjusting so we're not bringing all the kids from different towns back together and causing any type of additional spread. But right now with what's going on, we're just kind of waiting to see what happens with the governor and executive orders. And MDE counseled that we should not change our learning model just so students can participate in sports on the 21st of December. They're hearing rumblings of that. And so they're really trying to make sure that people are making decisions based on the safety of the students and not on participation in sports. For that purpose, they convened a panel of stakeholders. So there are health professionals, there are superintendents, there are so county nurses, epidemiologists, at this stakeholder meeting to provide some extra assistance in decision-making, because they have heard that we're feeling like we're kind of out here and trying to make decisions in a vacuum without a lot of support, because different schools are hearing different things. So they're going to be putting this stakeholder group together to try to add some consistency and norms throughout the state. CRF funds have to be expended by December 30th. We're having no issue with that. We have already submitted all the bills for over 75% of the funds. We're just getting the other bills and the receipts in there. So it was not an issue to spend that money prior to December 30th. MDE talked about the decision to bring Distance Plus students into the building. We need to make sure that the risk and the benefits are weighed, and the benefits have to outweigh the risks. If we have such great community spread that it is too risky to bring those Distance Plus kids in, we will have to shut down the Distance Plus. That's happened in a few places where the city community numbers and the staff quarantining got so high that the Distance Plus had to end. That is not a case for us right now. Our Distance Plus is going very well. We have very few students coming into the building, but those students coming into the building definitely benefit from coming in, and they are there help to continue successful education in their Distance Plus. In distance learning, there are a lot of schools across the state that are having problems with the 15-day consecutive absences from their students. And as soon as the student is absent without excuse for 15 consecutive days, we have to drop them from Mars, which means we drop the funding, but we have to continue to reach out. We are educationally responsible for that child, even though we are not getting the financial piece anymore. And that's happening a lot more, not here, but we need to keep watching that, especially at MNVA. And testing. Testing is still on, but this is the great, we don't know. Federal government changes and the new administration could definitely change the decisions made by the previous administration. The current administration has said that testing has to continue this year no matter what. The next administration coming in could overturn that. So right now, MDE is planning and preparing for a myriad type of ways to administer and proctor tests. One of those might be virtual in the home. They're not so sure about face-to-face on-site because they are looking at all the different ramifications of having kids sitting close to each other and taking tests for an hour or more every day. And that's it for this week's fun little COVID update. Any questions on anything that I brought up? Jean?
In terms of testing, I did see, I read the Southeast Service Co-op, and they had the ACT scores in there, and they had the states, and then they had the Southeast. And we were down below in those. I was wondering, do we have the ones for our district, how we compare to the others, Southeast and things of the ACT scores?
We have our ACT scores, and we were right up in the state averages. So
Okay.
yeah, it's we didn't have as many students test, and for the fall ACT, we were not allowed to give that. And I'm not so sure, typically our students have signed up to take ACTs in February, and that's not really an option this year either. So we're looking at, I think March or April, just see if we can get most of our juniors, because college bound in the Midwest need to take the ACT. If somebody wants to go on either coast, SAT tends to rule, but in this area of the country, ACT is the test of choice.
It didn't say the date when that test, where these scores were on there. I didn't know if they were for fall or not. I just noticed that in the article.
They are from last year.
Okay.
Yep. Pete, question?
I guess I've got some questions here that might benefit the parents in the community. First of all, 2 days ago, the World Health Organization, the WHO, came out with the recommendation that all students need to be in school. Then Dr. Fauci came out yesterday stating that he wanted students in school. Are we following with the number category that you refer to on a regular basis? Can you help the parents along by mentioning, is that number established from our governor, or where is that number derived from, since we seem to be going against the WHO and Dr. Fauci's recommendation? And now, of course, we have the Minnesota High School League met today, and they voted to go back to sports on the 21st. And obviously we have to listen to the SEC, our conference. It's whatever their decision is. So can you just enlighten the people a little bit by why are we where we are with the national and federal government voices stating what they are?
With Dr. Fauci, he was saying that K through 3, that 9 years old and under, have less of a chance of contracting or spreading the virus. However, with our particular numbers, we did end up with one positive high school student recently, but that was our very first one. And that was since we have been in distance learning, and that student has never been in the building since we went to distance learning. So there is no chance of spread in the building from that student. However, our elementary school is where we've had 5 positive students, and the majority of those have been in the lower elementary. So when you're looking at our data is not indicative of the type of data that WHO and Dr. Fauci are discussing. And so we do have a case before we went to distance learning where we did have a positive student in the building, and that positive student, according to the Department of Health, probably did cause some spread to another student. And so at that point, we need to be very careful because we're already on their, I think it's called red cap report as causing potential spread. So we need to, and I know that WHO said that children should be in school if it is, if you can guarantee that safe environment. And Dr. Fauci said that K through 3 should be in school as long as you can maintain that safe environment. We would like to think we are maintaining a safe environment. However, when we're looking at it, we have had, no, the K through 3 students did not contract. I don't want anyone thinking that they contracted it at school. They did get it from their homes. However, I wouldn't want it spread to anyone. I want to make sure that our students are safe and not taking anything home to someone who might be more medically fragile. As a teacher who had to walk back into a classroom after a student died and seeing an empty desk, I don't want to put any other teacher in that position ever, because it is gut-wrenching. That's where I'm coming from.
Okay, so just again for the parents, is the numbers that you use, is that coming from the state? Is that?
Oh, the 133 and the one for our,
Yeah.
those are our county numbers. So it's the number of positive cases in a 2-week time period divided by 1.8, because we've got 18,000 people within our county. And so when you're looking at just those numbers, that's how MDH considers the community spread rate. As far as the zip code, that's just looking at the number of cases that were reported within the 55943 zip code. If you look at the zip codes that are in our district, I would have to include the Winona zip code. I would have to include the Spring Grove zip code. I would have to include some of the Rushford zip code, because our, and Caledonia and La Crescent. So if you put all those zip codes together, then our rate is much higher. Because if you just look at La Crescent's zip code, as far as their community increase in the last week, it was well over 18.
So then we're using those figures, they're basically used throughout the state. So if you're in a school in Bemidji, for example, those numbers can affect whether you're at distance learning or not also. And
Yes.
that's why Mabel Canton and Spring Grove are currently in school where Houston is not. Is that correct?
because Spring Grove's zip code number, they're probably going to have to start meeting this week because this is the first week and for their zip code that they ended up with double digits, where we have had 4 weeks in a row of double digit cases in our zip code. Spring Grove has not had double digits until this week. Mabel Canton has not had double digits. And this week they even don't. Mabel Canton is in Fillmore County. And so you've got to look at, there are 5 different data points that you're looking at, and you're also looking at the spread within your buildings. Spring Grove did have some positive students, but it was 2 positive students. They haven't had any positive faculty members, where we can't say the same for that, where we have had the, it was either close contacts or positive cases. The second day, the last day that we were in session before going to distance learning, we had 18 staff members quarantining or in isolation because they'd either been close contacts or they were positive themselves. We can't, with that kind of spread, we can't continue to function in a face-to-face model.
Okay, Corinne, that really helps the public in understanding. And so our bigger concern is even having enough teachers available, because you don't have a very long sub list, do you?
We have teachers on call. Teachers on call is actually doing quite well for MNVA. And in the principal update, you'll see that teachers on call has really helped out online this year, because substitutes are very willing to go online because they don't have to put themselves in any type of peril walking into a building. We have had not as good luck getting somebody to actually come into our building. That's one of the reasons why last week, our first week with Distance Plus in the elementary school, we had a couple of people, a couple of staff members who had to be quarantining, and it got really tough. And I know there were some people that parents were asking about just bringing in K through 3 with that. We still have 4, 5, and 6 doing the distance learning with the entire staff there. If the whole school was there, we knew that if we had 3 teachers out, we couldn't do it. If you're bringing in half of the kids, really, if we have 1 teacher out, it causes such a strain that we're not sure we can do it. And it would just take 1 teacher and a couple of paraprofessionals, and we would then be bouncing them back to distance learning again. It would just be a constant yo-yo. And our committee constantly looks for both safety and consistency. We want to always provide sound education for our students. That first and foremost, that's our goal. However, in providing that sound education, it needs to be consistent and it needs to be safe.
Okay, that's very good. I'm glad you went over all of that for the benefit of everybody. And I think that probably helps Mark catch up with the rest of us too. So thank you very much, Corinne, for going over that as thorough as you did, because sometimes you need to hear things 2 or 3 times before it actually sinks in. And I think that's really good how you covered that, and you were very thorough. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Michaeline?
I'm going back to the testing. This is just, so is all of the required testing driven by federal ESSA? Or is any of our testing mandate dictated or determined at the state level?
As far as the MCAs, the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessments, and the Minnesota Test of Academic Standards, the MTAS, that's given to those on IEPs who qualify for that test, those are all tied to ESSA, the Elementary and Secondary Act. But with FastBridge and Star 360, we are doing those in-house already, those formative tests and diagnostic tests. So I don't want anyone thinking that we're not doing any type of testing. We are. We've got the FastBridge test so we can figure out where students are academically and prevent any slide and create the interventions to get them up to grade level or beyond. Online, they use Star 360 for the same thing, and lower elementary does use FastBridge.
I just was, thank you for that. I was just curious whether any of our state testing was determined at the state level where we could look to put a request or pressure or relief at the state, but apparently they don't have much to do about that.
No, right now they're just waiting for the federal government because they have, they requested a waiver and they were told no. So
And we no longer do NWEA tests.
we
right.
do FastBridge instead of NWEA.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on that? So we got a few more minutes before we have to go into truth and taxation. Why don't we talk about the January organizational meeting, Corinne?
Okay. We've been meeting on Thursdays. It's working. So what I would like to do at our next board meeting, we will set the organizational meeting for January, and so that I know what to put in that board agenda item. Right now I am proposing January 7th, which is the first Thursday after the first Monday. In January, we have to meet after the first Monday. And then does 6 o'clock still work so that I can have that put together?
I'm good with that.
Okay. So,
Corinne, when you put that together, can you do like we have in the past and just make sure you have the list of who's got what responsibilities? Because I know there's people that are, scratching to get into certain, committees.
well, and we have new members. And so we need to make sure that everybody can get on the committees that he or she would so like to join. Some of them are a lot of fun. So,
Well, Corinne, I'll be on vacation on January 7th. So that's actually the day I leave. I'll be out of country for a few days.
okay.
Perfect. Well, you might want to give Mark the list then, because we could always assign him jobs, but we may
Yep.
want to have some thoughts of picking some.
I will, I'll send you the list of different committees that we have, and then you can respond back to me on those committees for which you'd like to be considered. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess we can keep going. I don't know that we have time for any of the principal update, Corinne. We're pretty close here. So I would say let's just kind of pause and go into the adjourn for truth and taxation. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion made by Michaeline. Do I have a second? Second by Josh. Okay, discussion. Okay, once we're done with this, we'll come back in and finish the meeting. So we'll do roll call vote. Josh?
Aye.
Aye, okay, Mimi?
Aye.
Michaeline?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
And Pete?
Aye.
Okay, let's, you have to get anything ready there, Corinne, to go into truth and taxation?
I'm just gonna pull the PowerPoint up. Okay. So are we, well, looks like we can begin. So in the truth and taxation hearing, this is the public hearing to go over the 2021 budget and the proposed 21 property taxes for Houston Public Schools. So we've got some factors affecting taxes. Everybody's been watching the budget at the State Department. They said that they didn't have the deficits they thought they were going to have, but they know that in the next fiscal year, they are projecting a rather large deficit. You also, your property taxes are impacted by your property classification, whether it's farm, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial. And so that between the ag and the commercial, there are huge differences. And we'll talk about how we put all that together. So here's the big picture. Why do we have to have this truth and taxation meeting? Well, it's a law. So we've got the tax statements that were mailed to you in November. And then we've got the public hearing to really explain why the taxes are what they are. And it's a way to get public comment on that. And this hearing fulfills that statute requirement. So who sets a school levy? There's a set by state formula by the legislature, and then there's also the voter approved levies that are on there. We do not have any voter approved levies. We do have some board approved levies. So we'll get into some slides so you can see other districts in the state and see how we compare to other districts. And so remember, there are no voter approved levies for Houston Public Schools, which is why we sometimes a little island in southeastern Minnesota. So the property taxes, the county assessor determines your market value. That your market value is right on the top of your tax statement. And then the legislature sets the tax capacity. One thing that a lot of people are confused about is that the county knows how much tax it needs. And so if the market value fluctuates, they're going to make sure that they get the taxes that they need. So sometimes it looks like your property value stayed the same, but your taxes have gone up and the tax rate has not. It's just based on that market value and the tax capacity. With the state aid impact, the state collects the majority of the taxes. So the majority of the taxes on your tax statement go to the state. The school district only collects 8% of all the taxes. Who spends it? Schools are typically between schools and infrastructure. So schools and highway departments and road repair, those are the two big ticket items for the state as far as where taxes go. Now, this is something about funding. Right now, with inflation, the funding is really starting to lag behind again. We've had some things where we've tried to bridge that gap and to close that gap. And you'll notice that by 2013, it really started getting big. And then in 2014, there was a shift to start closing it. Remember, in 2014, that's when they put in local optional revenue, which is really depicted better in this slide. Here we've got the levy. And so those are local taxes. That's in red. You'll notice that that's really going up from that where it was. And then on the blue line, which is our revenue, and our yellow line, which is state aid, you'll see that that was really dipping down to 2014. So what happened in 2014? That's when we got the local optional revenue, and that bumped us back up to almost that zero line. But notice with inflation, that means that we need to levy a little more to still have that same purchasing power we did back in 2003. Rural districts are falling behind. we are not as able to generate the taxes that metro areas schools do. And so we are just, you can see from this graph, our revenue is falling behind. From 2003 to 2020, rural districts are losing out again. And that's, we've had that happen several times in the state of Minnesota, and then they work to try to even it out again. At one point in 1971, we had the Minnesota Miracle. We haven't gotten to the point where we've needed another miracle, but once again, the divide is starting to grow. For our 2021 school year budget, what we have funded for the general fund, and this is based on a flat, this is this year's budget. So it's flat. We don't have any of the COVID funding in there. So we are slated to have more in our fund balance. And the 2021 school year, the levy represents 5% of our total revenue. Significant changes in budget from the prior year. This year's budget, with our enrollment at MNVA, with the COVID funding, with some of the other things, you'll notice at the next year's Truth and Taxation that there were some definite changes. Okay. Property, this is the tax statement you got in November. And you might have seen some changes. What you need to really look at is your estimated market value and then the taxable market value. The taxable market value is with any type of deductions taken off. In this one, you've got the homesteading exclusion, so that reduces the taxable market value. So effective tax rates. This is where you, with the ag to school, farm is only at 0.52% of the taxable market value. But here, commercial industrial is 3.66. So you basically have 7 times as much the tax on a commercial property than you have one of equal value of a farm. And the farm has to be working ag land. And so that's how you get the share of tax liability that's very different here, where the market share of commercial is only 14%, but because they're taxed at 3.66%, they end up having to pay 32% of the market value of the shares of taxes that are generated. And then you'll see that farms, because they're at 0.52%, even though they are 18% of the market share, their taxable market value is only at 7%. That brings us to ag to school tax credit. This is something that, as we're looking at the different schools in the area, might be the reason that a farmer in the Houston district has their taxes look very different than, say, a farmer in the Rushford-Peterson school district. It affects the Fund 7 debt levies. And so if you've got those bonds in Fund 7, then you get a bigger impact. So the more things you have there, as far as like building a school or other major expenses in that, then you've got that benefit. Tax credit bonds, there you'll see that ag to school credit will keep expanding until 2023. And that gives you your ag to school credit right on the property tax. Now here's the ag to school credit that I was talking about, how our school district compares. With Houston, the total bond credit, we have 19,000 in our ag to school credit, where Caledonia has 198,000. And so if you own a farm in Caledonia, you get that benefit from it. Spring Grove is only at 13,000. Mabel doesn't have any. La Crescent's at 79. They just passed that building referendum. And Rushford's the big dog here, where they have that ag to school tax credit of 341,000. So you could have a large farm that really gets that benefit of that ag to school credit in Rushford. Then you've got local optional revenue, the LOR. And so here, looking at ours, if you notice changes, it could be that you've got a change on your property value. Please look at your property value. Change of enrollment numbers. Our local enrollment is staying the same. Our online enrollment is much larger. In 2014, the taxes changed from resident pupil units, where it was just taxed basically on the students that lived here, to average daily membership. And so now what we're trying to do is to modify and tweak the local optional revenue so that we are calculating that the city of Houston and the people within the Houston district are only paying for what they would have paid for if we still had it just computed on resident pupil units. So that's one of the things that Finance Committee looks at. Our market values for Houston County did go up. And so that's something that really could impact your taxes as well. The referendum picture, here we go. Our district has 0. We're one of 102 districts that do not have an operating referendum. And you'll notice that around us, there are Spring Grove is in the red. Mabel Canton is red, meaning that they're above the median, per pupil median. And Winona is red and La Crescent is red. Caledonia is above the district median. So once again, we're this little sea of white in all of this yellow and red in southeastern Minnesota. And property wealth, how our district, our district is 352. And so the median, so we're slightly below the median. Long-term facility maintenance, we really don't have, this is blank because we really don't have any major maintenance planned. That's because we have done in the last several years most of that long-term facility maintenance. So what we'll be doing is paying for what we have done. Okay. So here, putting it all together, this is the proposed pay 21. So this is for next year. This is what we are going to be setting. The school board will be setting at the next board meeting. And this is based on a flat tax rate. And this is recommended by the Finance Committee. I know the board hasn't approved it yet, but this slide is based on the Finance Committee recommendation. We will have slightly more money in the general fund, even by keeping a flat tax, but that's because the market values in the area have increased. So it looks like we're increasing taxes by 7%, and it's not accurate because it will generate 7% more in funds, but the tax rate will stay the same. So for more information, you can call the state of Minnesota. There's an 800 number. You can contact Donna Trias, the county auditor treasurer, or you can contact me as superintendent. With this, taxes, your property tax values are set in the spring. And so the tax that you have right now on your November statement can't be changed. You can't contest it. If you want to contest, you have to contest in the spring. So watch for that statement coming in the spring. And at that point, you can contest. So if you have any questions from the board at all? Yeah, Arlen?
Yeah, I just want to probably, if anything, it's to actually defend the assessor in Houston County. You have to remember that for the third year in a row, Houston's value of their properties in the city of Houston went up again. And so what the appraiser in Houston County has to do is they have to look at all the sales in the city of Houston, and then they assess those sales. And that's how they decide if your market value of your property goes up or down. We have gone up, of course, for 3 years in a row. The state of Minnesota came down and told the appraiser they had to be more accurate because they're supposed to operate at 96%. They weren't. A lot of you were having a low value on your property, which your taxes are based upon, and you were very, very happy. Well, since the assessor was told by the state they must address that, that's why some of you had an increase in taxes. And for those of you living in the country, there is a drastic difference between the townships. I, for example, live in Sheldon Township. Sheldon Township did a very good job this year, and our taxes went down a little bit. But it all depends on the township you live in. They can range all across the board. So I guess just a little information for the people. If houses in Houston continue to rise at the rate that they keep rising, that's a good and a bad for you. The good is the value of your property is now higher. The bad is you're not selling. And if you're not selling, you don't experience that value increase. So just a little info.
Okay. So the last thing I want to say is that really together we're better. As a school, we need our community, and we're making every decision possible to make sure that we are using the money we generate wisely and not taking any more than what we need. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. So that's the end of this presentation. However, what I do want to get into at this point is to share the screen with cheaters on there. Hold on a second. Why is that not? That's not, it's not sharing on the screen.
It was on there, Corinne.
What?
We saw it on there for a brief second until you just changed.
Okay.
Try it again.
Okay, I will. What's up on my screen is still the little minions.
No, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at everybody in the audience here, all the members of the board.
Okay.
There's
Not-
not,
Your payables sheet.
There we go. Do you see that or not?
Yep, we see it.
Yep.
Everybody see that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Michaeline.
Okay,
This is more of what the board is probably used to looking at, Corinne.
correct. Which is why I wanted to share this with, especially with the board. This is the very bottom of the sheet. And all of the money going in. If you look at the very top, the second column over is what we have right now as far as the proposed taxes. The third column over is if we keep the flat tax rate that we have right now. And the fourth column over, we always look at if we keep the same local general education revenue that we had this year. And so notice on the side here where it has RMV and NTC, some of these are on the market value and some are on net tax capacity. So we've got different funds calculated on different values within the taxes, which we have to be careful. There are some things that if we reduce them, we don't get any of the aid associated with it. So we need to levy that full amount to get the aid that comes with it. With our general ed revenue, including aid, if you look at the third column over, that's with the flat tax. That's keeping the tax rate at the 0.61 that we are right now. We will generate a little less in the revenue. It will be a decrease of 1.8% for us. However, if we raised taxes to get the same amount of general ed revenue about, it's $21,000. It's okay. I would much rather, I know that there's a lot of people that really have financially been hurt by the pandemic, and I don't want the school to add to that. So we can tweak the budget next year to make sure that we're coming down that 21,000. And here at the bottom, this gives you an indication of the other tax rates. So we're at 61, and right now the other schools are lower. La Crescent is the closest at 58. So that's why the finance committee, in looking at this, thought that it was wise to just keep a flat tax. Questions on that?
Mark, you may have a list of questions, so maybe Gwen and him can talk sometime, Corinne. So if he does have, to dig into it a little bit more, give him that opportunity if you have time, Mark. Mimi, did you want to bring up anything on this? I know we talked about it quite a bit at the finance committee meeting. One of the things I want to just remind people that because we did get funding for COVID, we were able to pick up that bus and that van. So that kind of offset some of the expenditures that we're looking at in the next few years. So that will help us out. And that's why the finance committee has recommended that we just keep it as is, the flat. So, but does anybody else have any questions or concerns?
I have one.
Okay.
Just with the recent forecast that the state of Minnesota is in a little better shape than had been projected. I know that that's pie in the sky, but at least it gives a little bit of optimism to possible state revenues that I think I didn't expect in the recent couple months. So Corinne, could you, how are the superintendents, how are you receiving that information?
It is positive. However, what we have been told is still plan for 0 and 0 because they are still planning a budget deficit of over 1 trillion. So even though there's a surplus now, they know the surplus for the next biennium is going to be a deficit.
That's a good question, Michaeline. I just want to make sure Mark understands that we're basically nothing's, Mark, we're not getting anything as far as increases, probably for the next couple of years. So when we look at this budget and where we spend our money, we have to look at that, like Michaeline mentioned, where are we going to be at in a couple of years? So did you have any questions on that, Mark?
No, I understood what they were saying. I appreciate it though. Yep.
Corinne, is there, and again, it's too soon, but is there a little bit of relief that we're not going to have to borrow on ourselves?
Yes, yeah, because when we thought that there was going to be the deficit this year, what they have done before is to basically borrow from the school and not pay when they have before, where instead of getting 90 and 10, they gave us 70% of what we were supposed to get, and then they finally paid us 30% later on. And there was talk about doing a 60-40, where we would have to try to get by with 60% of what they were supposed to be paying us, and then dip into fund balances for those of us that have fund balances, and others were looking at possibly having to borrow. We don't have to do that yet. So that is, thank you, a very good thing to note, because we don't have to, we'll get the money we were thinking we will get for at least this next year.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah,
the only thing I wanted to say is just to summarize for people super high level. The finance committee is suggesting that the tax rate not change from last year. So what you got in your proposed property tax statements had an increase in it of that rate. And when we actually vote in our next meeting, if the board chooses to follow the recommendations of the finance, that would go down. Your amount still might change if your property tax value changes. So the amount will still change, but it should not be as high as what's in your property tax statement, because we're going to lower the percentage, or at least that's the recommendation of the finance committee. So
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mimi, because it's right now, you'll notice at the top of the screen, the property tax percentage change. In the proposed, it's a 21% increase, and that will go down to 0 if that's what if the board goes along with the recommendation of the committee. Which is also kind of a sigh of relief.
Okay, so if there's no other questions, should we reconvene to the regular board meeting?
Yep.
So we have a motion to reconvene. Or can we just go back in, right?
Do we adjourn this meeting, or
Yes, we need to
Yeah.
adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the truth and taxation hearing.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, second by Gene. Discussion? Okay, all in favor, we'll do roll call again. Josh, Michaeline,
Aye.
Mimi,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Gene,
Aye.
okay, Pete,
I,
okay. So motion to adjourn. So do we have a motion to reconvene to regular board meeting?
I move that we reconvene the regular board meeting.
Okay, motion made by Gene,
I second it.
second by Pete. Discussion? Okay, all in favor? Pete,
I,
Gene,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Mimi,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
Michaeline.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So continuing on, we have principal updates.
Okay, those are in your packet at the elementary school. Rick did note that distance learning plus is going much smoother this week. It makes a huge difference with just 2 people out of quarantine and back at work again. Preschool is going well. No staff are in quarantine. A couple of students are. But the percent is so low that we know that the benefits of the preschool students coming in far outweigh the risks. Hurricane watch is very busy, but from what I'm hearing, Mary Muller, who is the director of Hurricane Watch, has the kids streaming into their classes. So there's school going on at all times, and everybody is in pods and working beautifully. So hats off to Mary and the rest of the staff at Hurricane Watch. The elementary PBIS team is trying to plan the celebration for our National Blue Ribbon. But they would really like to plan it when people can show up and they don't want to do a virtual one. So they're having plans that can go right into place as soon as we can have people back together again. And the teachers really are learning new technology, applying new technology. The learning curve is steep, but they are doing it, and they're doing very well. At MNVA, we talked about the fact that teachers on call has been actually beneficial. There's 10 trained substitutes, and 6 have been there almost every day, as we've had different teachers out. Even at MNVA, we've had a lot of teachers out quarantining. They have just been too sick to work. And luckily they are improving and getting healthy, and we've got the subs to cover them. Without teachers on call this year online, I don't know what we would have done. The teachers received some of their technology that we got with the coronavirus funds for them, that we haven't really had room in the budget to get. And the students are really benefiting from the extra technology that the teachers have, as far as the tablets and the headphones and the document cameras are really making a huge difference in the way they can instruct students. And the school-wide clubs, the document cameras have come in really handy in the cooking clubs. So they can actually show what they're doing, and the kids are, we've got over 100 kids in cooking clubs, and they love connecting with their fellow students in those cooking clubs. Once again, enrollment is still really high. January doesn't look to be like a huge January we've had before right now. However, I said that with October, and at the last minute, those numbers got huge again. I said November, and then at the last minute, those numbers got big. So I'm scared to say that January is not going to be big, because I've been proven wrong every cohort this year. So if we do get another large swell at January, I don't know what we're going to do with staffing, because I don't know where we'd find more teachers. And then as far as Mike, do you want me to just go through yours, or? Okay, can you hear Mike, or would you like?
Okay.
Can you hear Mike? Okay.
So first of all, big thank you to the school board members for continuing your support during unprecedented COVID times. Our teachers and staff, as you can guess, are in a constant state of change during COVID and distance learning. But they do get a sense that, and they know that you support them, and they're focused on student safety and student success. Distance learning has created challenges, but our teachers and staff have continued to find new innovative ways to engage students in a virtual learning setting. There's a lot of peer-to-peer collaborative initiatives going on between the staff here at the high school. You know, we continue to use our half-day schedule in the mornings and in the afternoons, provide opportunities for teachers to meet virtually with students individually and in small groups. So this has provided an avenue for students who are struggling to get some extra help. And the staff and teachers continue to provide interventions for students struggling with distance learning. So as you can guess, we do have a lot of students struggling, but we continue to do it a case by case and figure out what we can do to get them on track. Academic assistance, we have academic assistance. It was formerly known as academic detention, but we've opened it up a little bit more. And it does continue during distance learning, and it's open to all students, but specifically to students who are needing a structure to get caught up on missing assignments, or students who just need extra help. Teachers volunteer their time to support these students during academic assistance. Distance Learning Plus, we continue to use Distance Learning Plus to provide our CTE and special ed students with the opportunity to continue their classwork during distance learning, and on-site, that is going very well. We continue to use Move This World, which is a social and emotional learning platform that we have, and it continues to be very important during distance learning. The program is called Move This World, and the goal of it is to expose our students to strategies that they can use in their lives to deal with the stress, conflict, and many other challenges that high school students encounter. Teachers engage students and move this world every day. And finally, we are so proud of our HHS students during distance learning. We have the best students, and we know it's not easy, but we continue to work through our challenges together. Go Hurricanes.
And any questions? Okay,
Okay, no other questions? Okay, let's move on. Old business, items for discussion and approval. We have the local 70 contract.
finally got it back. The local 70 office up in White Bear Lake got kind of slammed by COVID. And so they were out of commission for about the month of November. So I finally got this week, and so we can get it in and get it approved. The negotiators have the approval, and we talked through the board on all of this. Both Marcia and I looked through to make sure that the contract was correct.
Okay, so we're gonna be making a motion to approve the local 70 contract. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Josh. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, got a second by Pete. Discussion. Okay, all in favor. I'll do a roll call vote again. Michaeline,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
Mimi,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
and Pete.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going down to new business, items for discussion and approval. We have an acceptance and oath of office for our new member, Mark.
Hey, and Mark, did you get the oath of office sent to you?
I was not able to open the packet prior, so I don't, is that through the packet or was that something separate?
Just repeat after me.
Fair enough.
Okay. You say, I hereby accept
I hereby accept
the office of school board member
the office of school board member
of Independent School District
of Independent School District
number 294
number 294
for a term beginning
for a term beginning
the first Monday. No, that's wrong. For a term beginning the first Thursday
the first Thursday
of December
of December
2020
2020
and expiring
and expiring
the first Monday in January 2025.
the first Monday in January 2025.
Okay, and then also say, I swear and affirm
I swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
and that I will discharge faithfully
and I will discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of school board member
the duties of office of school board member
of Independent School District number 294
of Independent School District 294
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Okay,
Hey, Corinne,
yes,
I was just reading along and you had him say January 2025, but the sheet in the board packet says 2023. So I'm not sure which.
oh, okay, it should be 2023. Sorry, I'm,
Come on, Mimi, we just had him for 4.
oh, okay,
Well, I just want what he says to match what the sheet says, and so I don't know.
2 years.
Okay, take 2, start over. No, I'm just kidding. I just want the notes to be correct.
No,
Thank
thank you, Mimi. Okay. Anything else on that, Trent? Thanks.
Nope. Thank you
Appreciate
and
stepping
welcome.
up. Yep, and welcome. Thanks for stepping up.
Hi. Oh, Josh and Mimi, you need to do your, I was reading Josh's instead of Mark's. So if you two, do you have the packet open?
They don't do this until January.
Yeah, they do theirs in January.
Okay,
Okay, so next on the board is the distance learning model.
okay, wait a second, Tom. Oh, because of the certificate of election, it needs to be done before December 27th. And so I will need Josh and Mimi to read theirs. Can you open yours? We should have read it all together, but you've got the same dates. Can you open yours, Josh?
We are having another meeting on December 17th, are we not?
Yep,
Yeah.
we'll
Why
do
don't we
it
just do
then.
it then.
Okay,
Yeah, that way
Perfect.
continue on.
perfect.
Okay,
But-
discussion, okay, distance learning model.
Okay, right now, we are slated to come back on December 7th. However, our county numbers are still high. Our city numbers are still high, and the recommendation of the COVID planning group is to continue distance learning and continue in the distance learning model through January 8th, coming back January 11th. The guidance we've been getting from Audrey Stagemeyer, our county health nurse, and from Jacob Zidane, our state epidemiologist, is that we should be out at least the first week in January because they are predicting that we're going to have a surge here and it would be far safer. The teachers are doing a great job with distance learning. We are doing everything we can to catch those kids that are not succeeding as well with distance learning and the academic support that Mr. Mangan's talking about. But in talking to the teachers, there was not one elementary teacher that felt safe and thought that it would be more of a ping pong experience for kids, because as soon as we brought everyone back together, they thought that the spread would happen and then everyone would have to go out again, and the consistency is not there. Mimi, you're part of that group. Tom, you're part of that group. Would you like to add anything to what I've said?
No, like Corinne said, we put it out at the meeting to the teachers, since they're the ones with the boots on the ground, as we say, to get their opinion on how they feel, because again, our concerns are always, are they really, I know they're running ragged and they're stretching themselves thin, but we're pretty adamant about continuing distance learning for the kids and for themselves. I think the only concern that they had was making sure that we had substitute teachers or people there in case something were to happen. And I believe we talked about that a little bit earlier. So I don't know if there's anything else that was said. Mimi, do you want to bring anything in? Anything else?
I'll just say, I mean, the rate it's not like it's close to 50. We're more than double what the recommendation of the state is for the rate. So I think it's just pretty obvious that with the amount of community spread, it's too difficult to have school and have healthy kids and teachers and not have it spread in the school. The other thing I'll say is, in the past, this committee, there might be a few different viewpoints on a different topic. Like maybe when we were talking about sports, some people wanted it, some people didn't. The committee is pretty much all in agreement that we need to be staying in distance learning. So very adamant of it. So definitely consensus from a committee perspective.
And on the committee, our school nurse sits on the committee, and she also attends all the state trainings every week for school nurses. And she too said that it would not be wise at this point to bring everybody back into the school.
So any other concerns at this time, or should we, do we need to vote on this?
Yes, we do.
Continue distance learning till January 8th. So do I have a motion? Anybody?
I'll make a motion that we continue distance learning through January 8th, returning January
11th.
11th.
11. Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mark, second. Okay, discussion.
Does that mean that we'll still be doing the sports if they're going on the end of December, starting with that?
And that's, the board decided before to go, as Southeast Conference decides, we go with
Right.
Southeast Conference. And so, once again, I've been talking to Dale Moga a great deal. If we do, if Southeast Conference does decide to, participate in sports, he's got the whole pod, separated out to make sure that there's very few students together, and he's got the plan so that we would never have, if one person became positive, the other people on the team would not be close contacts.
And go
Okay.
ahead, Pete.
Yeah, Pete?
Yeah, I just really want to commend Dale there. He did an excellent job in the past as far as keeping everybody safe. And it's like I reiterated, I'll reiterate from previous, I drive around to all these small towns and I'm seeing kids out of school that are not practicing. They have no masks on. They're right beside each other. There's no social distancing. And so Dale did a very good job of keeping them actually safer when they were under his care, as well as the coaches. I don't want to just single out, Dale. I think the coaches deserve credit for that too. But yeah, we have some control. And obviously if the SEC says they don't want to continue at that time, we would have difficulty playing anyone anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Yep. So we need to follow the SEC.
And in terms of,
Go ahead, Gene. You have more?
yeah, in terms of distance learning plus, I mean, if there's a child that's where if they feel they're getting behind, they can come in.
Right now, Distance Learning Plus is for the children on IEPs and CTE hands-on. So the industrial technology courses that you can't do wood shop at home. I don't want ninth graders at home without a parent using power tools. Here they're safe. They're in very small pods, and Mr. Kaler's making sure that there's, with contact tracing, there isn't any type of close contact. So it's not just any child that wants to come into Distance Plus.
Okay.
There has to be the criteria for Distance Plus has to be met. But if there are students that are struggling, please let us know so we can do the academic support. There are some students that were struggling that the parents asked if they could come to Hurricane Watch. We found help at Hurricane Watch. And so we've got some of that going on so that they are with somebody who understands educational pedagogy.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, we had a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call again. Michaeline,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
Gene,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Mimi,
Aye.
Pete.
Yeah, based on the difficulty that we're going to have teachers that are going to have we're not going to have subs. So I say aye.
Okay. Okay, now we're down to policies for first readings. Policy
On that-
201.
Tom, on
Oh.
that, I know how difficult a decision that is. I know you're getting a lot of calls and comments from parents. But thank you for listening to the staff. They really appreciate it. Okay, go ahead, Tom, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Policies for first reading and comments. We have policy 201, 202, 203, 2031, 2032, 2035, 2036, and 213. Do you have anything you want to bring up right now, Michaeline, or just make sure when they come back, you'll give them the quiz, right? Okay. Second. So I don't want to scare Mark right away.
I already started reading, so.
Perfect. Okay, so no comment on that. We'll go down right away to announcements. Do we have any important events? MSBA annual conference.
And it's a virtual one this year, and it's over several nights. So if you want to register for that, go for it.
Okay,
And
and
if
you did talk to Mark and the new person coming on board about their classes, correct? And you're gonna get them set up, have Ann set them up, so they're,
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
get them set up.
okay, thank you, Corinne. Did you have something else to add there,
No,
Gene?
That was it. That was it in
Okay.
terms of getting them to get to level 1 and level 2 training.
Okay. Okay, there's nothing else on that. Committee updates. Finance committee update, we kind of went over that already.
Mhm.
So I don't know if there's anything else there. Did you want to bring anything else up, Mimi? Basically went over truth and taxation, correct?
No, nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Okay, last but not least, we have board superintendent feedback. Thank yous for future agenda items. Anything there, Corinne?
No, we're just going to set the levy at the next board meeting. And then I will, at the next board meeting, also have for the organizational meeting, let you know what committees are going to be available in January as well. So we can have a discussion about if there's committee changes, not as far as the people on the committee, but if there are some extra committees you think we need to form, or if there are some committees that you think that we have that we don't need anymore. In December is a good chance to look at those lists and get the list in line before we have the January organizational meeting.
Okay, is anybody else have anything they want to address at this time? Otherwise, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Everybody wants to stay out here tonight, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll-
Motion made by Gene and we got a second by Josh. So we'll do roll call vote. Pete,
Aye.
Gene,
Hi.
Mark,
I,
Mimi,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
Michaeline.
Hi.
Okay, thank you all for visiting this evening. It's always a pleasure. We'll see you next time. And Mark, if you have any questions or concerns, you can give me a call if you want, or any of the other board members. So,
absolutely. Thank you.
everybody have a good night.
Thanks.
Good night.
Great.